Mosaic is brought to you in part by these generous corporate sponsors. Learn how you can support Mosaic by visiting jewishpb.org/mosaic.
Welcome to Mosaic. I'm your host, Susan Schulman-Pertnoy. Mosaic is Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County's weekly news magazine, exploring the most critical issues facing Jews here and around the world. He's a multi-platform creator and performer. He's starred in Broadway's Wicked and NBC's Emmy-winning Jesus Christ Superstar. Jonah Platt is a superstar. And today on Mosaic, we'll talk to him about how he's using his stardom to guide and promote Jewish life among young people. We'll be right back.
Now you can experience the flavors, stories, and culture of Israel, even though it's difficult to travel there. Federation's Israel Connections is creating ways to keep you virtually connected from the comfort and safety of your home. Learn more at jewishpb.org/Israeli Connections.
He's an actor, writer, singer, and musician. He was raised along with his 4 siblings by a famous producer father and a mother who's on the board of directors of Jewish Federations of North America. I'm thrilled to welcome the multi-talented Jonah Platt to Mosaic. Jonah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you took this opportunity to speak with us. I want to start on a personal note. I understand that you and your wife, Courtney, are raising your 2-year-old son in a traditional Jewish home, sort of like the way you were raised. Why are you doing that?
Well, I never really considered an alternative. I very much love the way I was raised and looked forward to following in my parents' footsteps and raising our son the same way, and surrounding him with the same love and Jewish values and all the wonderful gifts that I had growing up that I hope he'll now have as well.
You're not only an entertainer, but you're very philanthropic. As a matter of fact, you mentor Jewish teens. Why do you do that? And also, why is that important to you?
Sure. Well, I do it because I enjoy it very much. I really love the opportunity to offer whatever wisdom I have to those who might be able to use it. I love being of help. And I think I'm especially tuned into that because I felt in my career, my mentors have been sort of few and far between. And I always kind of wish I'd had a little bit more of people whispering in my ear and giving me tips and guidance. And the fact that I'm able to do that now for others with whatever my experience might have to offer is something that I think is really important, and I know can really make a difference for young people. And it's sort of what good is accumulating this experience if I'm not able to share it and empower others to strive to do even better.
How long have you been doing this?
Since it started. So this is the 4th year of the program. It's called the Julie Baron Platt Teen Innovation Grant. Actually, my siblings and I gave a gift to name it after our mother.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Which was after I had done it. When I first started, it was just called, I believe, just the Teen Innovation Grant. But I've been doing it every year. And typically there happens to be every year that they pair me with somebody who's writing a musical, generally, is what it's been. And there's always sort of a social justice theme to it, or like a youth empowerment or youth storytelling. This year I'm working with a young 7th or 8th grader who is writing a series of monologues and songs about immigration. So it's just really been a rewarding experience, and I'm happy to lend my expertise.
It sounds that way. Wow. You've also joined forces with the University of California, San Francisco in sponsoring the Jonah Platt Stem Cell Seminar Series. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was very lucky to have the opportunity, maybe 10 years ago now, it's been a while, to make a charitable contribution on behalf of my family to a charity of my choice. And each sibling had the opportunity to do this. And where I wanted to give it was to stem cell research. It's something that's so important to medical advancement, and it's so shockingly underfunded because of strange political issues. So it's just woefully underfunded by the government. So they rely so heavily on private donation. And so I sort of did a little bit of research about who was doing work that I wanted to support. And the fact that there was one of the sort of leaders in stem cell research was part of my own home state, with whom I have a great affinity at UCSF, that seemed like a natural fit. So when it first started, I was just sort of like, how can I help? And I sort of gave to their general fund. But then as I got to build my relationship with the great people at the Stem Cell Center, it sort of became a conversation. And they said, what we really would love to have is a speaker series, because the way that their industry, if that's the right word, works is it's very isolated. You have these different labs all over the world doing related work, but they don't get to communicate with one another because they're focused on what they're doing. So by having these speaker series, they're able to bring these experts who are working on other things to communicate and talk about what they're doing. And as a result of this series, a lot of new projects have sprung up by people who have come to visit UCSF and connected with doctors there, and they've been able to cooperate to make new projects, which is just really exciting.
It is really exciting, but it doesn't stop there. Your wife is also involved in philanthropy. She and your Tony Award-winning brother, Ben Platt, collaborated, I think it was with Bristol Myers Squibb.
That's right.
To start something called MS in Harmony. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. They reached out to Courtney and Ben to help them sort of spearhead this new initiative, which is it is not a pharmaceutical. It's a program to bring music therapy to people who are living with multiple sclerosis.
They need to move.
They need to move. They need to connect their mind and body, and music has this sort of magical way of unlocking neural pathways and keeping your body moving, and all this amazing stuff that I know Courtney and Ben could certainly speak to a lot more than I could. But Courtney has always been, since the day she was diagnosed with MS, she's been like way out in front and been like such a great cheerleader for that community, and raising awareness and raising a lot of money in a lot of different ways. And this is just yet another step in her journey that I'm very proud of.
You should be. And the both of you are great role models, and you're just starting out. Your child's only 2, and look what you've accomplished so far. So he's got some heavy footsteps to follow. We're going to talk more, but we have to take a quick break. Coming up, Broadway and TV star Jonah Platt tells us why promoting Jewish life among young people is his passion.
Connect virtually with Jewish life in the Palm Beaches. Find Federation's thought-provoking and entertaining events at jewishpb.org/upcoming.
We're back with Jonah Platt. You've been on Broadway, you've been on television, you're an entertainer, you've sung all over the place. How is it now that there's a pandemic? How have you been handling your livelihood, and how are other actors dealing with this?
Right. Well, the arts industry was definitely one of the hardest hit from this pandemic. Um, the theater community in particular has been quite literally shut down. There's just doesn't exist at the moment, which has been really tough for us, and especially for my friends and colleagues who that's the only thing that they do. I'm fortunate that I've had sort of other pursuits in my career, but you certainly can't blame someone for pouring all of their heart and soul into one object, as many of us do. So they've just been, completely out of work for the last year. And it's really been tough. And it feels, there's a lot of a sense of being overlooked by the community at large in this country, and sort of the rampant underappreciation of the arts, which is not only important culturally, but employs tens and hundreds of thousands of people in this country who, we're a massive, massive industry, and just not a lot of representation in Congress. You don't have a lot of, former musicians or representatives, but it really is an important workforce. And we're sort of seeing that come to the forefront a bit during this time. I've been fortunate that I also write, which luckily you can do during a pandemic, even if the acting hasn't been happening. Although on-camera stuff came back about 6 months ago, working around very strict protocols. With lots of testing and bubbling and different zones for different crew members and all kinds of rules, but it's been back. So I've been able to be on set. I've shot some stuff. Movies are filming, things are shooting in Canada. So that's back. And as I said, writing you sort of can do from anywhere.
Have you heard any progress in theaters opening, or do you have a timeline that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, what I've been reading is like New York is hoping for September to start trying to maybe do some things.
Oh, wow.
National touring stuff is coming back probably earlier because it's easier for audiences. New York is so tourist focused. So first you got to get the people into New York. Then you got to get those people to be comfortable going and sitting in a theater next to each other. The business model doesn't really work for limited capacity because they're so expensive to put on. So you got to sort of wait until everyone's comfortable enough to really fill the seats. So tours coming back, hopefully the New York stuff coming back sooner than later, but we'll just have to wait and see.
You and your brothers performed virtually for Yom Ha'atzmaut this past year. You sang Ahavat Olam. Could you talk about that? That was very special.
Yeah, it really was an amazing sort of surprise that happened. We have never sung together before, the three of us, but that event was happening because of the pandemic. It was all virtual. And because of the pandemic, the three of us were home in LA. Usually my brother Ben lives in New York, and my brother Henry would be probably, I think he was supposed to be doing an internship somewhere during the summer, and he goes to school in Philadelphia. But because of the pandemic, we were all home. So we all sort of bubbled together as a family. So we were all seeing each other and nobody else. And the Federation reached out and asked if we would do this. And it was early on in the pandemic when there was nothing going on. So we said, absolutely, we'd be happy to do this. And we recorded the song. We needed to find a good trio. And I thought of my friend, Gabriel Mann, who wrote the music for that song. And I'd known he had done that with his daughter, Piper. They wrote it together for her bat mitzvah and had performed it, the two of them, and then at their high holiday services with Piper's younger brother, Aiden. And it just immediately jumped to my mind. I was like, that's what we should do. So we rearranged it for three male voices and put our own little Platt spin on it. And it sort of just took off from there. It's got over 1.5 million views on YouTube and a couple 100,000 plays on Spotify, and has really seemed to touch a lot of people, both Jewish and non-Jewish, all over the world, who have responded to the music.
Well, it was phenomenal. I can't get over the fact that you're telling me this is the first time the three of you sang together.
Well, I mean, we sing together like casually, like at home or whatever, or like at family events, the whole family would sing together. Like at bar mitzvahs, we always were like, write a song about whoever's bar mitzvah was. But this was the first time the three of us, sort of as adult professional singers, got together to do something official.
Have you done anything since?
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We got to perform on LeBron James Graduate Together special that aired in June across every major network and streaming platform. We did. I arranged a graduation song medley for the three of us that we did, backed up by high school students. That was seen by millions of people all over the world. That was really cool. And then we did another song. We did a cover of Debbie Friedman's tune of Hodu for High Holiday services for my Temple Sinai Temples services earlier in the fall. So that's on the internet as well.
Well, I actually read an article that compares you. They call you the Jewish Jonah brothers. So that do you plan on doing anything with?
Yeah. So Ben, as you know, is sort of not sort of, is very much a musician in his own right. And he actually has his own album coming out. So he's very focused in the next calendar year on getting out his second album. He's, God willing, going to be touring with that album soon once live concerts come back. So the Platt Brothers music is on, let's say, an indefinite hiatus. But Henry and I are around, and we have a couple of sort of speaking appearances, the three of us coming up. But music-wise, there won't be any new music coming from the three of us for quite some time.
So what's your latest creative adventure?
My latest creative adventure, I was very lucky during this pandemic to sell an animated series idea to Apple Plus.
Wow.
So I am hard at work putting that together right now, working on the pilot.
And what is that about? Do you want to share?
Sure. It's actually a little complicated, but it is about a contemporary American family dealing with all of the cultural and social and political issues that we're dealing with today, except that every episode actually takes place in a different historical time period. And by playing with the playground of history, I'm able to satire the stuff that's going on in 2021.
Oh, it sounds very interesting.
Should be fun.
We have to take our final break. We'll be right back. Coming up, we'll hear more from multi-platform creator and performer Jonah Platt.
Now you can experience the flavors, stories, and culture of Israel, even though it's difficult to travel there. Federation's Israel Connections is creating ways to keep you virtually connected from the comfort and safety of your home. Learn more at jewishpb.org/Israeli Connections.
We're back with Jonah Platt. Jonah, I want to shift gears for a second. We've been talking about your profession, but let's talk about something that's going on in Palm Beach County. We recently did a study here at our Jewish Federation, and it revealed that the fastest growing segment of our Jewish population are young families, but most of these young families consist of interfaith families. Do you have an idea of how to engage these interfaith families in Jewish tradition and Jewish life?
Yeah, absolutely. I love speaking about this. I'm actually on the advisory board of the Intro to Judaism program at the American Jewish University here in LA.
Oh.
And my wife and I went on a trip with an organization called Honeymoon Israel, which is heavily subsidized trips to Israel for interfaith couples, LGBTQ couples, interracial couples.
It's a wonderful organization, yes.
Amazing program. And the whole idea behind that and the Intro to Judaism program is about, opening our arms as wide as we can. And the more that you invite people in and make them feel welcome and show them the beauty of and the richness of Jewish tradition, of the holidays and of the values, that's how you foster those things within families. You can't force anything down anybody's throat. The easiest and best and most beautiful way is just to invite everyone and include everyone and let them see the beauty of Judaism for themselves, and make sure that they feel welcome and safe to embrace these new ideas without feeling like they're having to give something up of themselves to do it, but that they're actually being desired and wanted and brought in to be a part of something.
That's really the key to moving forward with Judaism in the future. It really is. Inclusivity and feeling embraced is extraordinarily important.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but I interviewed your father, Mark Platt, 3 years ago. I think probably this week. It was for the same type of occasion. And when he was speaking to us, he told us about the importance of raising his family, of course, with your mom, in a very traditional manner. Can you talk about your upbringing?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of traditional Judaism, I went to Jewish day school, I went to Jewish camp, we celebrated every holiday, and I think the main reason we have, at least for me, the main reason I love religion and why we have those things is to provide those tent poles in our lives, to provide a basis for bringing families together and bringing communities together and making things special and giving meaning to days throughout the calendar and reflecting on our blessings. And I was fortunate to get to experience all of that from a very young age and have always had a positive experience with those things, and I'm loving getting to pass those things on to my son now and bring my parents in as grandparents to enjoy it with us.
Let's go back for a second.
Yeah,
Tell us how Jewish camp or Jewish day school helped shape your life.
Yeah, I'll say, let me focus on Jewish camp. That was really a big one, because when you're at Jewish camp, it's sort of like the only place, and you don't think about this when you're there, but you do in hindsight. It's like the only place where you're just like Jewish kind of like all the time and just fully immersed in Jewishness with all Jews all the time. It's a little different than day school where you come and go. So just being there and feeling that, and like what we do is sing songs in Hebrew and do Israeli dancing and whatever it is. Even if you go and you're like, Jewish camp is lame, the part you can't escape from is the fact that you're just surrounded by Jews and Jewish values that whole time. And like, it seeps into you whether you like it or not. And you find, at least for me, I found, half my groomsmen were my camp friends. It was like my brothers, my cousins, and my best friends from camp, who have been my lifelong best friends, because that's where I found the people who were the most like me on the inside.
I know you also went on a birthright, and that can change people's lives. Sometimes that's the first experience in a Jewish culture. So tell us about your trip and the importance it was for you.
Sure. So I was very lucky that I'd already been to Israel a couple times before I went on birthright. So I'm sort of more of the atypical birthright attendee, but it was my first time going without my family. So that was unique in itself, where it really felt like I was getting my own individual Israel experience that wasn't planned by my parents or shared with my cousins or whatever. And so it was just like really, it allowed me to see Israel as an adult. It allowed me to have fun there just as a young adult, Jewish or not, just like being in that country and experiencing all it has to offer. And then tying that into just my already existing bond, which strengthened by virtue of getting to spend this, incredibly fun, unique thrill ride of a time there.
You've said that your dad taught you to be a mensch. You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, his calling card in his industry is that he's a man of integrity and of honesty and he's always looking out for other people. I can't tell you how many times, and he would never talk about this. He's also incredibly humble, but how many times he'll tell me about, he gave away his fee on this thing, or he took less money on this thing to try to support someone else, or to get somebody else to feel like they have more skin in the game, or to make sure that the project just got to happen because he believes in it or believes in the creator. And people know that when you're dealing with him, you're going to get exactly what he says. There's not going to be, it's just, honesty and integrity. And that he looks out for people. There's so many people that he has supported financially or emotionally or with advice, that he would never advertise. But there are a lot of people around the country and around the world who owe a debt of gratitude to my dad that he would never want, vocalized, because that's not why he does it. But I am fortunate that I've gotten to watch that without having to hear it be announced. I get to see it firsthand, and to see his sort of quiet humility and how dedicated he is to helping other people. It's just, you couldn't ask for a better example.
Wow, that's really something. You also have an incredible mother. She just recently finished her stint as the board chair of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles, and now she's a board member of Jewish Federations of North America, amongst other things that she's involved with. Why is it important? Why is the Jewish Federation so important?
Well, I can say why it's important to me.
Okay.
And that's certainly something that has been in my family. My grandpa Robert Barron, and my grandmother Joan Barron, and my aunts and uncles, and on my dad's side of the family, like all of my aunts and uncles and grandparents at one time or another have been heavily involved in Federation. And I think that's because Federation has really made itself like the hub of caring for Jews, caring for Jews in need, caring for the Jewish future, caring for Jewish communities, and they support so many other organizations that by supporting a thriving federation, it's like the easiest way to support everything and everyone. I've followed my parents' footsteps. I've been very involved and done a number of Federation programs, and I definitely get that directly from my mom.
That's a great way to end the program. Jonah, it's been a delight talking to you, and keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you.
So much.